Welcome back to Forward Progress, presented by Fanduel. We are back, and we're going to be ranking the top 10 head coaches in the NFL. Before we get started, I want to hear your thoughts quickly. Gut check right now. Drop me your top 10 list in the comment section down below. Then at the end of the video, after you finish watching us here, let us know if we missed anyone, if you feel like we were sleeping on anyone, too low, too high. Well, always want to hear your thoughts. We love interacting with the chat, so do us a favor, drop those comments right now. I'm your host here, Jason Cooper, alongside Chris Dierkis at FlupNoLied on Twitter, and ranking NFL coaches. It's a pretty hard thing to do. What do you reward? Do you reward rings? Do you reward scheme, culture building, play calling? How do you reward it? So, Chris, before we break it all down, before we get into your list, talk to me a little bit about what you value in head coaches and what you kind of like and don't like from a head coach in terms of this ranking and how you listed them.
Yeah, so I would say these characteristics are not all weighted equally, and it depends how much better they are than their peers. But culture is a big thing. A scheme is another big thing. Decision-making and in-game adjustments is another big thing. And I would say those are the three biggest things that I'm looking at. Obviously, legacy, like someone like a Pete Carroll has a good legacy behind him. That would weigh into his culture. But you can argue that that's old-fashioned. So even if you have a good culture or good legacy, it may not be a benefit. And we'll talk about this later, but there's some coaches that are bad in everything except one, and I have them ranked very high because they're so much better than their peers later. So I don't want to say, like, I only look for good scheme or I only look for good decision-making. It's everything. It kind of depends on the coach. I don't have a direct play calling is 50%, to the other two are 25 and 25. But those are the three biggest things. There's a lot of other little things, but those three mainly is what I'm looking for.
Safe to say that there is nuance here. Listen, Chris, I asked you to put together a list of 10 head coaches. You went the extra mile, put together a list of 20 for me, and I appreciate that. We'll bring that up on the screen in a second here. But before we do, I think I have like a little bit of a fastball here, a little trick up my sleeve, because not only did I ask you to do that, I also asked the rest of the Forward Progress crew to rank their head coaches, and I'm going to pit your list against their consensus list. So we have a consensus list from the Forward Progress crew that doesn't include your head coach rankings, and we're going to pit it against yours and see, how well they do. Who do you think had the better list? I guess I'll be the judge of that. It's going to be a fun little competition here. Let's start at the top, though. I feel like this is a no debate thing. Andy Reid. Consensus number one overall head coach of all the people who were polled in the list for their head coaching list. Excuse me, Andy Reid was the unanimous number one guy. Not a single person had him anywhere else. So, what is there to say about Andy Reid? He's a top two coach of the 21st century. I think that's fair to say. He's up there with Bill Belichick in terms of legacy. I guess my question is, how far away is Reid from being talked about in the same ilk as Bill Belichick? And does he have a career path to potentially pass Bill Belichick as a greater head coach of, we'll call it, our generation?
So I'm glad that no one had him outside number one. That's a ridiculous take. The only coach I'm sure is locked in their position. He's pretty close to Belichick, mainly because he's blessed to play with or coach Patrick Mahomes, I should say. If Patrick Mahomes is able to win him a couple more rings, he could be right there. I still think he's got a decent way to go to catch Bill Belichick. But right now, as you said, in the last 2 decades, as I would go as far to say, it's Belichick 1, Reid 2. I don't even know who's 3. Everyone else is miles between those two. I would also have Reid miles ahead of my number 2. It's not even close. He's a great play caller, great culture builder, consistent winner, track record. In-game decisions, maybe a little weak. That's probably his weakest. But even those, it's not like he's doing bad. Everything he does is good. Consistent winner. Hard to hate on him.
Yeah, no, you nailed it on the head there with Andy Reid. Not much to say that's already been said about him. So I guess we'll just move on to the next guys on our list. Up next, we have sort of 3 head coaches. We didn't really tier them, but I'm going to stick these guys in a tier just based on how everybody else ranked them. It's going to be For your list, let's bring up your list first here. You had at number 2, John Harbaugh, number 3, Kyle Shanahan, and number 4, Shawn McVey. Our consensus list was very similar to that. Number 2, we had Kyle Shanahan. Tied for second, we had Kyle Shanahan and Shawn McVey. And then right behind there was John Harbaugh. In terms of standard deviation, there was a big process going into this in terms of this consensus rankings. Shawn McVey had one of the widest range of outcomes for head coaches. He was put second the most of any head coach, but he was also ranked as far down as 6th and 7th on some lists. You have him 4th here. What do you think? What do you think like Shawn McVay's biggest weaknesses? Because I mean, some people had him in the top 2, others had him outside in the top 7, and he's the lowest among this cluster of 3. So tell me a little bit about Shawn McVay's weakness.
I would say his weakness is in-game decision making. Brilliant play caller. Him and Kyle Shanahan are miles ahead of everyone else. I would go as far to say they're actually much better than Andy Reid at this stage of the game. Potentially Ben Johnson has the path to threaten them as some of the 2 most elite play callers. And I think why I put Kyle above Shanahan above McVay is, one, I think Shanahan is a little bit better than McVay, and 2, McVay is a little bit more erratic with his decisions. Some of his in-game decisions are very questionable. Consistently running it while down because he still can't get it out of his way. Designing a scheme, it's like you can't run your scheme if you're down 2 scores. And some of these decisions to punt and play conservative, very puzzling decisions by him, and that's his biggest weakness. Overall, probably a good culture guy. Seems like players like to play with him. Smart guy, and I mean, I've seen the interviews where he can remember every single play that he's ever called. Yeah, clearly bleeds football, but those decision makings in game are just head scratchers. And I can see some people and some of the Ford Progress crew thinking this is unforgivable, and I don't blame them. But to me, he's such an elite play caller that I've got to have him at 4 for me.
Yeah, and it seems like the Forward Progress crew, just based on this consensus list here, skews towards offensive play callers a little bit more, with John Harbaugh being 4th there on the list. Mind you, not too many points behind there for Harbaugh. Harbaugh also had a couple second-place votes. He was really held back by one person who left him off his list. I'm not going to tell you who that is because I promised secrecy to all the people who did this poll. But John Harbaugh, he's your number 2 ranked head coach. Tell us why you have him ahead of this cluster of 3 and have him ahead of the pack.
So Harbaugh's been a personal favorite of mine for years. It's funny. I sent my list to NFL Pinnacle Beater, asked him what his thoughts were, and he said I wouldn't have Harbaugh that high, but I respect you holding to your opinions. And I've preached him for years, and the reason is simple. If there was any coach in this league I'd want to play for, number 1, it would be either him or Dan Campbell. It was him number 1 for the better part of the last decade. It's because he does no ego. He knows he's not a genius play caller. He hires good people. He builds a great culture. It's easy to play for, and his in-game decision making maybe isn't as elite as some coaches, but it's quite good. He's totally open-minded to analytics. I really love the fact that he has no ego. And while he himself, as I mentioned, is not a good play caller as Shanahan or McVay, he can hire good play callers, and he attracts talent. His coaching tree is pretty good. It's pretty deep compared to another like culture guy like Tomlin, who has no coaching tree whatsoever. No current head coaches. That's very poor. So to me, it shows that he doesn't need to be the smartest guy in the room. He's fine divvying it up, and that's what makes a great leader. A scene that always sticks out to me is the Ravens are playing the Seahawks, and it was 4th and 2, and Harbaugh goes over to Lamar and just says, "Do you want to go for it?" And Lamar just gets instantly pumped up. "Yeah, let's do it." And I think that's a brilliant thing to say, because it's not. Yes, he probably would have wanted to go for it due to the analytics, and he knew that. But it gets the players really involved. They feel like they're part of the decision-making process and gets them excited. And that extra motivation might be a couple percentage points in conversion rate. I don't know other coaches that are doing that, and I really respect Harbaugh for it. I've been a huge fan of him for many years. He's my favorite coach in the league, and if Andy Reid didn't have such a great track record, he would be my number one coach. Maybe I'm too biased because I like him too much, but I just everything about him is good in my opinion.
Yeah, one of the most tenured head coaches in the NFL, 18 seasons with the Rams here. I mean, the Ravens. Sorry.
Yes.
Thinking about Shawn McVey for a second.
Yeah.
18 seasons with the Ravens, won a Super Bowl. A lot of good things to say about John Harbaugh. I think you nailed the hammer on the head there. Did I say that right? Oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind. Anyways, you nailed it when you mentioned his ability to delegate, right? Like I think that's a very big issue we see with some of these head coaches. Who these newer head coaches kind of take things on and take on too much. It seems like he's learned over his long tenure that he's how to properly delegate and give the right tools to the right guys to make good decisions and then act as a unit there, which I think is really important in head coaching. We're going to get to the rest of the list here. Before we do, just want to give you a quick shout out to our sponsors over at Fanduel. It might be the offseason, but if you want to bet on the NFL and NFL futures, Fanduel is the place to go for that actions. They have tons of props available, tons of future markets available, including Super Bowl winner, Super Bowl exactas. If you want to bet who's going to win the division, if you want to parlay win totals at FanDuel, or heck, you want to bet on the coach of the year, they have that all at FanDuel, and they got much more coming your way throughout the offseason. Just visit FanDuel.com/forward progress to download America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/forward progress. Up next on your list.
Before we go on, I just want to have a quick note about Kyle Shannon because I mentioned him in the beginning.
Yeah,
he's the one. I think he's below average at every single category: decision making, culture, like a leader of men, except play calling. But he's so much better than everyone else. I think he's even better than Nick McVey, Reid, Kevin O'Connell, those other guys that he just puts him up there. By far my most hated and tilting coach because I want to punt him every time he does something dumb in game. But there's a reason why his offenses rank consistently top 5 despite having non-elite quarterback play. So I think he'd be better suited in an offensive playmaker role, like an offensive coordinator, but he wants to be head coach and you have to take it.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, he has the ability to do it, so why not? But yeah, we've seen him make some questionable decisions in Super Bowls, and I mean, maybe one day he'll win it. Maybe I don't know. It's been a great career for Kyle Shannon, but a tough one as well because he's been so close, but he hasn't really tasted victory yet. Anyways, let's move on here to the next guy you have on your list, and that's Dan Campbell. Quickly give us a rundown of how you ranked Dan Campbell, why you ranked him around 5th. In terms of our consensus ranking, Dan Campbell was right behind the 5th person. He was 6th. But he also is, I want to say that of these head coaches in this top 10, he probably has the widest range of outcomes because we've seen him only with the coordinators he's had over the last. We've seen him be successful with the coordinators he's had. Now we see new coordinators come in. I think that's going to speak to a lot of his ability to be a head coach, is sustained success throughout coordinator shuffle. So tell me what you think about his range of outcomes, how you might rank him next year, depending on how this season goes, and give me your criteria for why you ranked him number 5.
So I think 2 big things that made me rank him very high is, one, Ben Johnson stayed an extra year. Ben Johnson could have had his pick of the litter, not this year, the year prior, and he stayed. That shows you what a great person and what a great coach he is, because his talent doesn't want to leave. Second of all, I think Dan Campbell is kind of an idiot, and I think that's what makes him so polarizing. But he's an idiot in the right ways. He's just naturally an insanely aggressive person. And this reminds me of something Seth Burns tweeted about last year when Campbell refused to rest his players in the meaningless game against Minnesota. That's who he is. Or maybe it was versus the 49ers. I can't remember which game. But there was a game that he didn't rest his players that had no impact on the schedule. And in a vacuum, it's a dumb decision, but that's just who Dan Campbell is. He leads his team with a never back down attitude, insanely easy to play for. How could you not be motivated playing for him? And furthermore, when he got crucified losing to the 49ers in the NFC Championship 2 years ago, because he was super aggressive on 4th down, granted they were correct decisions, what did he do next year? we saw a coach like Brandon Staley of the Chargers. He pussied out and he backed down. Dan Campbell said, "Fuck that," and he went full steam ahead, being even more aggressive the year prior, because that's who Dan Campbell is. He does not back down. He leads a team like that, and his decisions end up being right, even if he's coming to them through the wrong reasons. Like we saw when he went for it with a 2-point conversion on the 7-yard line. Obviously, a terrible, terrible decision, but that's just who he is, and he accidentally stumbles onto the right decision more often than not, and you have to give him credit for that. And his team culture has got to be insane. How could you not love and give 110% effort for him every single week? And similar to John Harbaugh, I think he attracts talent. Ben Johnson, obviously a genius, wants to play for him. I think he'll have a good time getting another elite offensive coordinator. So if you said this year he does bad, fire the offensive coordinator, and I'm sure he'll find another one. I have confidence in him doing that. If he's unable to do it for the next few years, then I'll adjust my ranking. But you have to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, fair enough. Dan Campbell, obviously a great head coach. Love his aggressiveness. Love his ability to just kind of go balls to the wall. And also, there goes our monetization on that video, Chris. You were ripping it. It's all right. It's mid-June. We're okay. It's part of the fun here on Forward Progress. So number 5 was Dan Campbell. I'm going to reveal number 6, number 8, and leave number 7 because I feel like those two guys they kind of go hand in hand. They're from the same tree. It's at number 6, you had Matt LaFleur. Number 8, you had Kevin O'Connell. In terms of our consensus rankings, Kevin O'Connell was 5 and Matt LaFleur was 7. So that seems to be the difference between our rankings, the consensus rankings, and your rankings of these guys. Are you shocked to see Kevin O'Connell ahead of Matt LaFleur from our consensus rankings? I know it's semantics. They're basically beside each other on your list, but is there a reason why you put Matt LaFleur ahead of Kevin O'Connell? Or are they kind of in the same boat for you?
They're basically in the same boat, and I'm not surprised. I think most of the other Forward Progress crew, I'm guessing, is too biased by Brian Flores. He is there in Minnesota, and I think he gives a lot of credit that it is undeserved to Kevin O'Connell. I'm not saying Kevin O'Connell isn't a genius. He is. He's obviously a great play caller, but it's also easy when your defensive coordinator is also a genius and probably, in my opinion, the best defensive coordinator in the league. Matt LaFleur doesn't have that. I think Matt LaFleur deserves almost all the credit for Green Bay, where Kevin O'Connell is split more evenly with Brian Flores. So it's tough to say who's a better offensive coordinator. It's really, that's what it boils down to. Do you think Matt LaFleur or Kevin O'Connell is? I lean LaFleur slightly, but I'm not going to hate you if you have Kevin O'Connell ahead of him. It's like you said, it's semantics, similar culture, similar style, similar decision-making. I just lean to LaFleur as a little bit of a better play caller. I could be wrong, though.
No, that's so fair. And also, you kind of challenged me there because I definitely, in my head, I had O'Connell ahead of Matt LaFleur in my sort of rankings that I made up. Listen, guys, don't worry. My ranking was not a part of the consensus before anyone freaks out about that. I came up with my own in my head, not like a one that I hammered out and wrote down, but I thought in my head I'd have Kevin O'Connell ahead of Matt LaFleur. Thought that was a little odd. But now that you mention it, I think about it. If you were to swap places for Matt LaFleur and Kevin O'Connell, I think the talent, the defensive coordinator talent in Brian Flores, I think if you swap the two, the Vikings are a way better situation. I mean, much better wide receivers, quarterback. You can say what you want about Sam Darnold versus Jordan Love. I don't think Jordan Love is that great of a quarterback or that much better than.
Well, he's much better. He's much better than Sam Darnold. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, JJ McCarthy. Anyways, but like the receiver talent they have, offensive line talent, like I would give the edge to a lot of places to the Minnesota Vikings outside of quarterback. Challenge me there. I think I agree with you. Matt LaFleur ahead of Kevin O'Connell, but it seems like Forward Progress crew, they give the.
Yeah, I can't fault you. It's so close.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's move on here to the next two. We talked about two offensive minds. I guess one of these guys is an offensive mind, but like to me, this is like these are two old guard head coaches. In number 7, you had Jim Harbaugh, and number 9, you had Sean Payton. It's funny because before we started this video, you said to me, "How off am I in terms of Jim Harbaugh compared to the rest of the crew?" And shockingly, not that far off. Sean Payton, number 8 for our consensus list, and Jim Harbaugh, number 9, as some people had him ranked pretty high as 4th.
Wow.
4th and 3rd on their list. A lot of respect for Jim Harbaugh. I mean, it's a little bit of it was a head scratcher to me, but I look back at Jim Harbaugh's kind of body of work and I can see where that respect comes from. Maybe it's because I'm biased by him being out of the league for so long, it was a head scratcher for me. So tell me a little bit about why you had Jim Harbaugh this high, and I guess your thoughts on Sean Payton as well. You can kind of lump these two guys together as being old guard head coaches in a new spot.
Fair. So for Jim Harbaugh, I think he might be the best at identifying talent. If you look at his coaching tree, extremely good. The only one that I think is close is honestly John Harbaugh, but mostly because John Harbaugh just steals from his brother. So Jim Harbaugh, he runs a tilting offense. I mean, drafting the offensive lineman instead of a receiver, running to run it, and his defensive schemes, very frustrating. And I understand why people are annoyed by him. But he is such a consistent culture builder and such a talent magnet that outweighs a lot of his seemingly obvious negatives for me. These other guys, other play callers that are ahead, they don't really get that edge to me because he can just hire the best offensive coordinator, and that's what he's doing. So I don't see his negatives as that problematic, and that's why I had him a little bit higher. As far as Sean Payton's clearly a great offensive mind. He's had a great track record with Drew Brees in New Orleans, and now obviously in Denver. He's good. I just worry as the game passed him by a little bit. I would have him higher, but I've just seen so much more dominance and brilliance out of the Kevin O'Connells, the Floors, the McVeys, the Shanahans, that it's hard for me to put him above there yet. I'm totally open to moving him ahead or below if I see another year or two of success. But he's clearly done a good job in Denver. We'll see how he continues.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a very fair point there for Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh. I feel like Sean Payton has a little bit of an ego, and kind of what we saw towards the end of his career, or end of his stint with the Saints, where it's almost like, listen, I respect him. He's a great head coach. He's a great offensive mind, but it seems like maybe in his eyes, sometimes he goes a little bit too far, and you can kind of tell with like the offense that he's built right now. I'm sure he's had a hand in like the selection of talent that he's acquired there on that offense, and it's not the best, and they weren't really looking to improve it over this offseason. But yeah, respects to Jim Harbaugh as well. I think that's something I had underrated going into this list, the ability to identify talent. Obviously, he found a diamond in the rough in Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator, who was like absolutely lights out for Michigan, brings him on to the and
also
the NFL level.
Mike McDonald, he got him in Michigan. And his brother stole him from him. So he's very good at finding brilliance.
Yeah, it's a good point there. I think that's something I underrate, and something I'm gonna have to look towards in the future. To round out this list, let's look at number 10. But first, I want to look at number 10 on the consensus rankings. Consensus list, number 10. It was tight. It was Nick Sirianni. He had 13 points in terms of like my point system. And Mike Tomlin, who just missed the cut, had 12. I feel like those guys kind of go hand in hand on your list. Sirianni, 15. Mike Tomlin, 18. Quickly, give your thoughts on those two quarterbacks, then we'll touch on your 10th. Or sorry, head coach. Then we'll touch on your 10th head coach.
So as I spoke about earlier, Tomlin is too big of an ego for me at this point. I love this culture. I think he's very good at building culture. Undeniable there. Players love to play for him. But he can't identify talent, and he can't hold it. He had Brian Flores on his staff and got him out. Why was he not promoted defensive coordinator? Because he wants to be the smartest guy. He wants it to be his defense, not Brian Flores' defense. That is unforgivable to me. His decision makings also in games have gotten worse and worse as the league has become more and more aggressive on fourth down. His unwillingness to be aggressive has been more of a hindrance there. And it just, those two things, he's not a brilliant play caller. All he's got is culture. And I can get culture guys that are just smarter. So that's why I have him pretty low. Yes, great track record. And if I was doing a top 10 list on coaches of this decade, Tomlin would probably be top 5 for me. But do I want him on my team right now? No, I do not. I want other better culture builders. And as far as Nick Sirianni, I think he's just an idiot. I do not like Nick Sirianni whatsoever. I think the majority of the credit for the Eagles' success should go to Jalen Hurts, who I think is criminally underrated as a quarterback, and Howie Roseman, who is by far and away the best general manager. Nick Sirianni decision-making is puzzling. He has an unbelievable weapon with the tush push and does not even it's used a lot, but not nearly as much as it should be, which I think other offensive coordinators would use. I don't know what he does. He's there as basically a babysitter for a good team. I don't think he deserves a lot of credit. I will give him credit, though. I know I just kind of hypocritical, but I will give him some credit in the regards that he can't be that bad. If he was that bad, the team would have been a disaster and unraveled. Clearly, he's at least sticking it together, and clearly he's got to be at least average. But to put him ahead of some of these guys, I don't care if he's won a Super Bowl or not. Makes better decisions in game or run a better scheme. But when Howie Roseman just drafts you gems every single year, it's tough for me to give you credit.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, Howie Roseman is the pristine, the creme de la creme of GMs in the NFL. Every single year we talk about the Eagles and how they're loaded with talent. His ability to replenish has been astounding for them. So, yeah, I think Nick Sirianni lost a lot of credit the year after he lost Gannon and Shane Steichen. Because I feel like I can't remember their names, but the guys he brought in weren't the best coordinators. And we saw the Eagles kind of take a step back 2 years ago. And then obviously this year with the talent they had, ended up winning the Super Bowl. We talked about the consensus list. Let's close out with your list here. I love this one. Number 10, you have Mike McDonald, who we mentioned previously. I guess tell me why you have such a young, such a green head coach in your top 10 here. He's only in his second season. We've only seen one season of him so far. A great defensive coordinator. I believe the Ravens in his first year, they were like the 12th ranked defense and then launched all the way up to the number 1 ranked defense in terms of EPA, defensive EPA per play. Maybe we'll see that jump in year 2. Give me your thoughts on Mike McDonald here.
Great decision making, and in my opinion, the second best defensive coordinator in the league, only behind Brian Flores. So, I mean, that's what you get. Obviously, we value offensive playmaking and split scheme more, but he's brilliant, and his in-game decisions is good. It's tough to say in culture, but it hasn't blown up yet. So I can't really grade his culture because we only have one season. But being so good at defensive play calling and so good at in-game decision making is a huge plus. And I think if the Seahawks defense takes another step forward, they were quite good last year with little to no talent. If they take another step forward, he'll only go up higher on my list.
Yeah.
If he was offensive in the same level of dominance, he would be top 5. But because defense is valued less, he's got to be a little bit lower, which is unfair to him, but that's just how the game is.
Yeah, and I love his ability to, I don't know if this was, we don't know who makes these decisions. Could have been the GM here who stepped in. But I love his quick trigger with Ryan Grubb. I didn't like the way the offense was run last year. They were quick with him. They fired him out after year 1. They didn't like what they saw right there. So they bring in Clint Kubiak. A
beautiful hire. A great hire. So this is what I'm talking about. He's good at getting I shouldn't say he's good at getting talent. That's part of him just being smart. He's got the defense taken care of. He has a good offensive mind. I'm pretty optimistic on the Seahawks this year.
Yeah, I agree. As everyone on Forward Progress knows, maybe you've been drinking my Kool-Aid a little bit too much, but that wraps it up for us here today. Those are the top 10 NFL head coaches that we have ranked. Going to pull up Chris's list. Going to pull up the consensus list as well quickly on screen. Want to hear your guys' thoughts on these lists. Are we too low on anyone? Are we too high? Did we miss an obvious head coach like Mike McDaniel maybe? Who knows? We want to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. So do us a favor, drop those comments. And while you're down there, smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button as well. We have tons of fun new content coming your way throughout the off season. So if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you subscribe. Hit that notification bell to be notified every time we release a video. And that wraps it up for us here today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.